Michael J. here. The question is, will Trump solve the Russian-Ukraine war in 24 hours like he has represented, as he has said adamantly? I'll solve it in 24 hours. As a matter of fact, he said, I'll solve it before I even get into office. He's president-elect. It's now December the 11th. He's had over 1 month and 6 days. Now, depending how many days in the month, that could be 7 days or it could be 5 days. Wise guy, eh? Yeah, Mo. So, that's the question. Trump said, and this, you don't understand, he always says, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this. He's got concepts, but no real plans usually. So he's told you, he said, without a doubt, he's going to put his foot down. Russia-Ukraine war is going to be over in 24 hours. Say what? Yes, 24 hours, he claims. And furthermore, you buy into this stuff. You always buy into this stuff. You didn't learn the first time. Fortunately, by law, you can only have 2 terms, but what does the law mean to this guy, Donald Trump? He's already bought and paid for the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land. So obviously, he can do whatever he wants. Never since 1776 has a president had to go to the Supreme Court to ask for to find out if he's got absolute powers to do what he wants, and this is the first time in history. So you already know the game's rigged. He's rigged the game, pardoning his friends. Roger Stone, criminal. He's head of criminal organization. He's a criminality all over him. That's what he does. Trump's history, criminality. Why do you think the Trump Tower is built out of concrete in New York? Because the mob owns the concrete business. It's a simple thing. So you got a mobster for a friggin' president. Unbelievable. Who would have thunk, eh? Who would have thunk? But that's the reality. And it goes deeper than that. And this is what you do not understand. The Russian hoax, the hoax on you, America. The hoax is on you. There's no Russian hoax. Absolutely not. It's not a Russian hoax. It's the Russian reality, and you've been conned into believing it's a hoax. Bona fide, verified. I can say that with in absolute terms. Simple as that. But here we are today. What's going to happen to Ukraine? So we got all sorts of people saying, here's what you've seen so far. Let's go back to February, which 9 months ago. And I'm going to go to the split screen. Whoops, wrong one.
Good evening. We're on assignment in Panama City tonight. This is a notorious...
That's a preview of stuff coming in the near future. Did I let it slip? I did. Okay, so now, here we go. This is February 2024. February the 16th or 15th? Forbes breaking news. Now, this is a right-wing station or outfit. So this may have some credibility to these guys that are just going to torch me saying you don't know what you're talking. You've been brainwashed. You've been brainwashed. You just do not get it. So anyway, stop spending our money on other freaking countries. No more money for Ukraine. You people just do not understand geopolitical situations or affairs or policies or how to deal with creating allies to have a good, wonderful environment around the world. You don't seem to remember, even though history tells you had World War I, you had World War II. Every time America just waited and waited and waited. We don't want wars. Don't spend money on wars. We don't want wars. But they had to get involved because it requires the efforts of all people to maintain democracy and freedom. And you've lost touch with that. It's very simple. You've really lost touch with the understanding of what freedom, actual freedom really is, and democracy, and people that made the sacrifices in order for you to have a good life. Is it perfect right now? No, because the work's not finished. It's a continual work in progress. But you've let it go because of apathy. You don't care. All you do is care about yourself, self-interest. And that's an issue. And it comes back to bite you. So anyway, let's stick with the real question. Is Trump going to help Ukraine? He said he'd fix it in 24 hours. Well, it's been 1 month and 6 days at the very least, and that 24-hour window's passed many, many times over and over and over in that period of time. So we're going to watch Steny Hoyer. And this is why Ukraine does have a problem right now, is because the help that Ukraine needed to push back the people that invaded them has been put on hold. And why has it been put on hold? Because of the Republican members of Congress had forced a hold on it. That's really what happened. Listen for yourself.
Madam Speaker, we leave today a day early. We essentially have 4-day weeks. That's been the 25% of the work that we were planning to do, we're not going to do. We leave, I think, because we either can't do our work or we won't be allowed to do our work. Madam Speaker, I rise again, as I have so many times when we were leaving without doing the critical business of America and the world. I rise again for our allies in Ukraine and Israel. I rise for the defense of democracy and freedom and people who are fighting for their very survival as a democracy. The other week I read a story, Madam Speaker, about the desperate situation of the front lines outside Kharkiv in Ukraine. A Ukrainian air defense soldier positioned outside the city spotted a salvo of Russian missiles rising over the horizon. He stood there helplessly. His unit lacked the equipment and ammunition necessary to shoot missiles down. Within minutes, the missile struck a residential complex, killing numerous civilians.
Okay, let's be clear on one thing. People in the comments said, and let's get to the comments. Let's go back so you can refresh your memory. Refresh your memory, because you just have a short-term memory. Because you've been brainwashed to think differently and you can't accept what you see in front of you. Stop spending our money. Here's what you do not understand. No more money for Ukraine. We need to stop funding Ukraine. Well, Israel and Iran, we're not going to deal with that. We're just dealing with Ukraine. We need to stop funding Ukraine. No more money for Ukraine. Stop spending our money on other friggin' countries. No more funding for Ukraine. And then here, the majority of Americans are tired of funding foreign countries, but never our own. You're not sending them money. Here's the deal, folks. And this is what you do not realize. And this is where you got, maybe hard for you to wrap your head around. You're benefiting by it. You're creating what is a deficit. This is a deficit by giving them arms. You're just giving them arms. Actually, it's just older equipment. Most of it's just older equipment that's really at EOL, end of life, or near the end of life. Maybe some half-decent stuff there that you could use if you need in a pinch for something else. But you're not sending them money. You just don't get it. You're just sending them armaments to help fight a war. And this is what you don't get. And this is the travesty of the whole situation. Because I'll tell you, there's a real simple fix to this Ukraine war if you really did send them the money. And that is you just bomb leaflets, little pieces of paper. You bomb Russia with pieces of paper, offering them a home and the ability to find a nice young Ukrainian woman, start a new life in peace. Do you know how many people would forget about be jumping out of their tanks and planes and saying, screw this, I don't want to take a chance of dying, I'm just going to go and take it up. Be no war. If you actually sent money, there would be no war. You just bomb Russia with leaflets, little pieces of paper. People might get paper cuts, which, it's rather unfortunate, a little pain and suffering. And you've solved the problem of the war. But no. Make out like you're the saviors. The people think, oh my God, we're spending money. Money's more important than a human life. But you're not spending any money. You're not sending any money. You're sending friggin' bombs. You're sending missile launchers. You're sending explosive shells of various types, whether it's armor piercing or high efficiency fire bombs. You just do not get it. And you get caught up in all the distractions and forget about the very basic thing, helping one another as human beings for safety, the comfort of home, living a good life. So get over yourself. You're not sending any money anywhere. You're just sending armaments to kill people. How's that feel? You feel good now? You feel better? You're part and parcel to killing people, not solving problems. That's the real issue. If right at the very beginning every country sent soldiers in right to the border with Belarus and said, enough of this. Let's stop it here, right here and now. There may have been some casualties, but overall it would have been stopped. Would have been over with. Instead, we've had almost 3 years now where we're toying with the idea, oh, money. Money's more important than a human life. We can't help them. What's going on? And the thing is, by helping them, you're helping yourself. But you haven't figured that out yet because it's a lot deeper than what your ability is to think, because you've never been taught to think in a different way. And this is the real tragedy of things. You believe in what you're doing. And, the truth is only as deep as your belief system. And this is the key element. The truth is only as deep and as strong as your belief system. If you do not have the cognizant abilities to have all, and I mean all, to make a proper, calculated assessment. Let's not talk about action. That's a loving, benevolent, and compassionate action that benefits people, that benefits you as well, and benefits the people you're helping. You just don't get it.
And yet, we stand here ready to walk out of this chamber, our work undone.
Okay, so that happened, this is 9 months ago. It's been going, went on for a long time, which allowed Russia to play catch up. You were manipulated. You don't realize it. GOP was manipulated. Donald Trump was pulling the strings behind the scenes, sitting at some table at Mar-a-Lago, entertaining and bravado and boasting about how great he is. And all he's been doing is phoning Putin. He's been constantly phoning Putin. He says, if I phone Putin, it's a good thing. He doesn't admit he is. He knows he is, has stated to people he is. But he's been in constant contact with Putin. And he is under the thumb of Putin. Because of criminal activities they have both been involved in for decades. They have history. Trump has benefited by Putin. And I'm going to explain to you. It started with Boris Yeltsin. Boris Yeltsin was undermining Gorbachev the whole time. Gorbachev looked great in the eyes of the Western world because he's doing what the Western world wanted, bringing the wall down. Allowing the unification of Germany. But in the eyes of the Russian people who were suffering through poverty, starvation, because Yeltsin was raping the financial funds that was meant to help with the restructuring, the dismantling of nuclear armaments in a safe manner. They were stealing the money. Putin was just a puppet of Yeltsin. This is how it all started. Started with Boris Yeltsin. Putin was put in place. He's a puppet of Yeltsin. Eventually, Putin got into a position where he could be on his own and everybody trusted him to do what needed to be done. They set up a system of oligarchs. This was all by design. You do not realize. I know the person that actually designed it for them. And this is what you don't get. I have experience where I know what happened. I was witness to it. Okay? So the Russian hoax, the hoax is on you, America. The Russian collusion goes back for decades with Trump and Putin. Now, here's the other question. Trump's in a second term now. Can he use subterfuge in a way to be able to out-manipulate Putin so that Putin doesn't let his secret, Trump, the secret that Putin holds over Trump? Because you got to understand, this also involves cartels in Colombia and Mexico. You heard me right. Cartels in Colombia and Mexico that deal drugs around the world, to profit by drugs. A lot of it's cocaine. So their hands are dirty. They got their fingers in many pots. But you're puppets. You get caught up in playing their game. You get manipulated. Instead of being good people to yourselves, your family, and everybody else, all you care about is yourself, because you're in a state of fear. You're controlled by fear. Fear of immigration. Fear of financial insecurity. Fear of criminals coming to overrun your country. They use these tactics to create fear so that you are not in a state of proper way, in a state of thinking that's in a good way for yourself, your family, your neighbor, and your country. And this is what you get. A guy like Donald J. Trump. Okay, so now, is he going? Let's get back to the original question, because I've digressed. Is Trump going to solve the problem with Ukraine in 24 hours? No. Month and 6 days have passed, and many 24-hour windows have passed. He has not solved the issue. So he was full of crap to begin with. You bought up that crap. You lapped it up. It wasn't true. Guy lies more than, I don't know. I don't know how a guy like him gets away with lying all the time. Now here we got another guy. This is 8 months ago. The Forbes one was 9 months ago.
Crises in the world. Let's stay on Ukraine for a moment. Can you explain how dire the situation is? How long can Ukraine continue while the U.S. Sits waiting to vote and waiting to get aid to Ukraine?
Mika, thanks for having me. Ukraine started battling Putin with their bare hands, and now they're having to do it again because they're out of bullets, because we have not come forward with this aid, even though they have done absolutely everything the world could have asked them to do. Nobody could have imagined the success that they have had on the battlefield because of their bravery and because of their courage, and because they are fighting, as President Zelensky says, not just for Ukraine, but for democracy. They understand that.
Right.
We need to understand that. That's the reason I asked Secretary Burns the question yesterday. Listen to this, Director Burns. This is a guy who's worked in Bush administrations and in the Obama administration. And I asked him, what about the guys in the Republican Party now who are saying we can't afford this fight in Russia? We've got to worry about some theoretical, plausible, but theoretical future battle with China. He basically said their position is ridiculous. You know, for $60 billion, we can keep Ukraine in this fight. We can get to a result where the end is a noble result for the people of Ukraine, for the West, as Joe said, for democracy, and send a signal to Xi Jinping that when tyrants invade another country, the free countries of this world are going to band together with the leadership of the United States. That's what Ronald Reagan meant when he said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. And it's what the current House Republicans have forgotten.
Senator Bennett, you and other members of your committee just recently returned from a trip to the Middle East. And I'm wondering, when you were in...
Okay, we're going to pivot back. Okay, so now we're going to go to another video. I think this is very important.
Money Laundering Center. It's also where the first tower to be built
Money
outside the
Laundering
United
Center,
States.
don't you love it?
The inflation
It's coming.
we
Oh,
just went
the
through.
inflation.
That's a way of lowering the standard of living of large numbers of people, which they felt acutely as they went and paid $6 for a dozen eggs or everything else. They know they're suffering. My guess, no chance for Mr. Trump without that inflation. It gave him the victory. And it cost Kamala Harris the loss. But it's not the only thing. Let me give you other examples which an economist stares at with astonishment. The minimum wage at the federal level in the United States right now is $7.25 per hour.
There you go. That's another preview of another one. You have been snookered, America. You have been conned. The GOP conservatives kept the minimum wage at $7.25. Most other nations, more than double that. It's all a con job, and you've fallen into it. Ain't it a shame, my friend? So anyways, here we are 8 months ago. Russia, 8 months ago, Russia duped two Republicans with propaganda laundered through fake news sites. Fake news? Who's the guy that's been friggin' with the byline, fake news, Trump. He's been giving you fake news and telling you everything's fake news, and it's all coming from his side. Fox News and him. So, look at this. In the days after Navalny, just so you can see, 8 months ago, Navalny after he died, a Russian disinformation site that peddles pro-Russia and anti-Ukraine narratives posted a story alleging audio had leaked of two U.S. officials discussing which opposition leader would take his place in Russia. The hook's on you, America. The top echelon that runs Russia has been working with Trump to provide you with fake news, to give ammunition and fire to everything the propaganda machine of Donald Trump has been spewing out from day one. Trump's giving you fake news, Russia's giving you fake news, and they're playing you. And you know where they learnt the playbook from? The 20 years of Russian rule that Putin's been involved with. They've taken that playbook. They understood the demographics of the Russian people is very similar to the Midwest of the United States of America. And they've just applied it, and you've bought into it. Simple as that. There you go.
Ministry over the weekend, purporting to show Russian troops lowering the Ukrainian flag and raising the Russian flag in the eastern Ukrainian town
9 months ago.
Avdiivka. With just 4 days until the 2-year anniversary of the Russian invasion of Ukraine and less than a month until the Russian presidential election, Russia's capturing of Avdiivka, their first major military victory in months, has handed Russian President Vladimir Putin a major political win. And the Biden administration is not being coy about why they think Ukraine lost this specific battle. Here was Biden's national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, earlier today on a call with reporters from the White House.
This happened in large part because Ukraine is running out of weapons due to congressional inaction, and Ukrainian troops didn't have the supplies and ammunition they needed to stop the Russian advances.
Last week, the Senate passed a bill with $60 billion of aid to support Ukraine in this war. And passing the bill to the House, where Republican Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, says that he will not be rushed to pass it. He didn't even bring it to the floor last week, and now Congress is on recess.
And here's this guy, Mike Johnson. He's just doing Trump's bidding. He's bought into it. He's taking just like the Russian soup in a Seinfeld episode. And it's not borscht. Yikes, what's borscht? Okay, so here, first administration of the Trump tenor, Trump 1.0. This guy was the ambassador to Ukraine. Yes, folks, he was the bona fide ambassador to Ukraine. Now, here's the byline, Times Radio. These guys are full of a lot of they've got some good stuff, but a lot of propaganda they just don't realize, or opinions that really just do not resonate with what needs to be done. And that's where a lot of news information sources really do not get down to the bare bones of the situation, explain it to you in a way that gives you a different perspective. So now, here's this guy. Trump is not going to abandon Ukraine. former U.S. ambassador. So he was the ambassador to Ukraine. He donated $1 million or so dollars to Trump's campaign the first time in 2016, and naturally he gets rewarded by Trump. You're a Trumpster. Be my Ukrainian ambassador. The original ambassador that was in place was a qualified person for what they were doing and understood the situation with Ukraine, Russia, and the manipulation by Russia that goes back to after the dissolution of the former USSR and the oligarch structure. There's a myriad of tentacles in a situation that a lot of you people are not privy to, do not understand. And you've got this other guy, what's his name, Scott, he was on Piers Morgan against Wesley Clark. And this guy has written a couple books, Scott Horton. This guy doesn't know about the other stuff that goes on there. He doesn't know about the Yeltsin involvement, the different aspect of the Bolshevik revolution and the imperialistic tendencies to replicate a bygone era. Let's bring Russia. Russia's great again. MAGA's great again. Do you see a trend here? Are you people not seeing the trend? Listen to this gentleman, please.
In 24 hours is to give Putin an ultimatum. And basically...
What? In 24 hours to give Putin an ultimatum? 1 month and 6 days. That's a lot of 24-hour ultimatums we have not heard. This is the facts. The 24-hour ultimatum is Kool-Aid. Nothing but Kool-Aid. Is it Jimmy Jones style Kool-Aid? No, that was grape juice. This is the orange Kool-Aid. No pun intended. You're getting orange Kool-Aid, kids.
They tell Putin, look, you're done here.
No disrespect. I know you're all adults. Sometimes we behave like kids, but we are adults, right? 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 Let's go back to the beginning. Listen to this carefully.
I would hope he would do in 24 hours is to give Putin an ultimatum and basically tell Putin, look, you're done here. And if you're not done here, we and our allies in Europe are going to surge weapons, surge aircraft, and we're going to clear you out of here because you're not going any further than Ukraine.
Now let's get more on the response to the death of the Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny. His widow Yulia Navalnaya has...
And there you go. They've taken the playbook, the Putin playbook, the Donald Trump playbook, which you got from Putin. Is that the orange juice? You've been juiced? The orange juice? Joe Rogan knows all about being juiced. Damn, did I say that? Yes, I did. Okay, so let's go pivot here to Mehdi Hassan. Lost his job at MSNBC or MSBC or something like that. He calls things the way he sees it. And he's got a pretty good view on things. Do I agree with everything? No. But I think he provides a very important, sheds a very important light upon things that a lot of people just gloss over. Listen.
Yeah, it's, Donald Trump comes to office, a man who was singularly unqualified in his first term to do foreign policy, let alone domestic policy.
I agree.
And now he's going to be doing foreign policy again with, as you say, a series of challenges. You've got the ongoing...
And why is he not qualified for foreign policy? He gave a crap load of armaments to the Saudi Arabians for money. Where are the Saudi Arabians now? Part of BRICS, BRICS. What does BRICS stand for? Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. And then they brought in other countries like Egypt, other African countries. Iran is part of it. Guess what? Saudi Arabia is part of it. You've been hoodwinked, folks. You've been hoodwinked because a couple guys want to manipulate the world for their exclusive benefit, for them and their ilk. I-L-K. They're going to benefit, and their ilk is going to benefit. And in America, that interprets to mean the top 1% and the top 10% are going to benefit. You just don't get it. And then you got corporate terrorism that's holding democracy on hold because they manipulate the reins of government. You heard it here first, folks. Let's listen.
Violence, and I would argue genocide in Gaza. You've got Syria, where Assad has fallen. You've got what is still a proscribed terrorist organization, HTS. Abu Muhammad al-Jalani, the Trump administration, put a $10 million bounty on his head in 2018. Now he's the de facto ruler of the country. You've got his ally Netanyahu claiming that Trump has already promised him Golan and beyond in Syria. And of course, Ukraine, the unresolved issue, Ukraine, where Trump has ridiculously...
Did you hear that? Netanyahu has been promised by Trump. You know, there's horse trading going on behind the scenes in ways you cannot imagine. In ways you cannot imagine. Like, wake up, America. And then you say wokeism. Wokeism, it's a bad thing. But at least they're awake. Yeah. So you don't want to wake up. You don't want to wake up. You don't. I wanted to get another thing with Piers Morgan, Wesley Clark, and the Scott Horton. I did have the video. I can't find it. Because Wesley Clark seems to think that he's going to make the same mistake he made back with, what's his name? Name started with P under the... fine gentleman under the Clinton administration and dealing with these affairs back then. But Wesley Clark seems to think that, Trump may be able to straighten out this Ukraine situation. But here's the deal. And I'm not going to look for that video. We'll do that maybe another time. But here's the deal, folks. You've been hoodwinked. The Russian hoax is the all-American hoax. Because between Russia and Trump, the hoax has been played on America and the world. You're all being manipulated to benefit the few. And you just don't get it. Maybe you just need to sleep on it. Watch this video again and sleep on it. Because the 24-hour ceasefire... Oh... Before we go, I got one more. I've got one. I'm going to fail grammar school. I have one more video, which I wanted you to watch. And this is very, very important because this tells you exactly what's going to happen. As I said, Wesley Clark, fine gentleman, is under the assumption that maybe this guy Trump's got some balls. Yeah, he's got balls, but he just uses it for himself and his benefit. He bullies for himself and his benefit. Going to hurt people by his bullying for his benefit and his friends' benefits. Just the way things are going to be, guys. So now we're going to go to this meeting between, what's her name? Kristen, I shouldn't say what's her name. That's really not appropriate. I apologize. Miss Kristen Welker. Recent interview on December the 8th. We're just going to take a part of this interview. You can just see exactly for yourself what's going to happen with Ukraine. What he's going to do with Ukraine. Just watch this one. Look at that stern look. There's a lot of empty space up there, kids. Now, That's really not fair of me to state that, but the fact of the matter is this man does not know what a trade deficit is. Trade deficit, he thinks, is money owed to the country. Meanwhile, all it is, you're importing goods that you do not supply to your country that the country needs. That's what a trade deficit is. There's no money lost. You're getting products that you need, that your country needs for its sustainability. This guy thinks a trade deficit is you're losing money. He just does not understand that, does not have the ability to understand that. Same with immigration. The immigration situation may need to be dealt with, but it's not as bad as you think it is. It's been created to be such a boondoggle, to create such fear in your minds that they can manipulate you. That's all that is. It's been overemphasized over and over again with each administration of the Republican Party going back for many decades. It's a trope they keep bringing up and keep repeating and repeating and repeating because they know it works. Just saying, folks.
Entitlements
and
off the table.
And we're not raising ages or any of that stuff.
Okay,
no,
off the table.
I won't do it.
Okay. Let's turn to foreign policy. Should Ukraine prepare for...
Foreign policy. Should Ukraine. She's starting should Ukraine. So this is foreign policy. This is an area you're really getting manipulated in. Foreign policy. Oh, he's lightening up here. What am I going to say? Byline. What's my byline?
The people are going to get what they're getting.
Okay, so the entitlements
and
off
we're not
the
raising,
table.
And we're not raising ages or any of that stuff.
Okay,
Things
off
don't
the table.
go his way.
Okay. Let's turn to foreign policy.
Foreign policy.
Should Ukraine prepare for less aid from the United States after you're sworn into office?
Yeah, probably.
Possibly. Probably. Did you hear that? Possibly. Probably. So, retired General Wesley Clark, if you think that Trump is coming to the aid of Ukraine, it ain't happening. He's folded. He's been talking to Putin for many months. Putin's got it over and over again explained to the Trumpster. This is how we got to do it, Donald. Stick with the plan. Stick with the plan. You don't get it. Let's hear this again. Yikes.
Not touching Social Security, other than we make it more efficient, but the people are going to get what they're getting.
Okay, so the entitlements
and
off
we're not
the
raising,
table.
And we're not raising ages or any of that stuff.
Okay,
no,
off the table.
I won't do it.
Okay. Let's turn to foreign policy. Should Ukraine prepare for less aid from the United States after you're sworn into office?
Yeah, probably.
Possibly.
Sure.
Probably.
You've said you can end the war in
We're in for
24
$350 billion, and Europe is in for $100 billion. Why isn't Europe in for the same as us? The one thing that should happen is...
Here we go. This is where he diverts. This is where he distracts the people. This is where he distracts everybody. You don't understand what's been going on behind the scenes. And you take this guy at face value. It gets back to money. You're letting money become important, more important than human being, a life, and a good relationship with other countries and allies to live with peace, without poverty, without worry about war around the world, and you don't care. You just do not care. And it's hard to explain, and we see it. And he gets back to money again. But here's the thing, you're not given dollars. And I explained this earlier. You're not given dollars. All you're giving is weapons, supplies of weapons, supplies of weapons, supplies of weapons, stuff that's just sitting in the garage. You're capitalizing on it by creating a ledger deficit. Did you hear me? A ledger deficit. You got a book, the accountant's got a book, asset, Non-asset account receivable. You've given assets, which are weapons and supplies of weapons, and so you create a dollar value, and you hope to collect upon that dollar value later. So this is what you don't get. You're not giving money. You're helping the free world become a democracy. And the way you're doing it is a tragedy. Russian people are dying. Like Putin doesn't care. Russian people are dying. Lovely people. Great culture. They're brainwashed. Ukrainian people are dying. Great culture. Lovely people. And it goes back to, other people say, wow, the former USSR, imperialistic tendencies. You're forgetting about the Austro-Hungarian empires, the Ottoman empires, that predates all that bullshit. And that's all it is. It's make-believe bullshit to make you fall into into line and to believe, I got a reason why I can invade. That's utter crap. Russia's got a lot of land, a lot of natural resources, and they manipulate. It's just been the way they've since Brezhnev and the original KGB, just manipulating around the world because they figure their ideology is best. And every communist government's done that. It's just the way it works. And if you don't think there's an underlying communist factor at play between China and between Russia and North Korea, you're just kidding yourself. So anyways, I'm just going to, let's see if he's got more to add. Hold on, let's go back.
That Europe should come in they should equalize. And, Biden, all he had to do, like I did with NATO, I said, you got to pay your bills. They won't
pay your bills. Here's another thing. Pay your bills. NATO owes us money. NATO owes you nothing. The agreement was that every country would spend their money based on 2% of the gross domestic product of their country to make sure they had a military to help when help needed be. And the only help that was ever needed under Article 25 of the statutes of NATO, where a country needed help from NATO, was the United States of America. Okay, does that resonate with you? On that basis, we're going to cut this short. We're going to cut this short. This is the Donald J. Trump Unbound Expose. And this is really it. You've been hoodwinked, America. The world's being hoodwinked. A lot of the European actually understand this, but a lot of people just digress and they get caught up on intellectualizing things. Let's understand. Russia, Donald Trump, been working together for a long time for their benefit, and you don't get it. So there we go. Got to send you love and peace, folks. It's up to you. You've got free will to make a decision. Do you want to be somebody that helps people, helps yourself, and everybody to have a good, safe life without fear and you have happiness? Or do you want to be in a position of pain and suffering and inflicting pain and suffering on others for your country's benefit? That's where free will comes into play. You have the ability and the free will to make a choice. Loving yourself, loving your neighbor, loving the world, because there's a lot of human beings around the world. A lot of people that have lost their way, that need help to find their way in a compassionate, benevolent way. Or you can do the other side, a Darwinian theory, ideology of survival of the fittest, force pain and suffering, because you're been convinced pain and suffering, and you know no other way. Pain and suffering is the way to go. So you have the opportunity, and I'm going to put this into a different, cast a different light on things. You have the ability to live heaven on earth or hell on earth. You've created those constructs. So you have free choice, and you have the ability to create. You have the ability to create peace on earth, heaven on earth, or pain and suffering, or hell on earth. Simple as that, folks. Now, I'm going to send everybody, thanks for watching, whoever does watch. Comments are greatly appreciated. You have the ability to comment in any way, which way that you feel is appropriate for you. That's fine. I understand that. But sending everybody love and peace. Take care. Till the next time. And my good friend, Snoopy and his little buddy, this is what we do, and we just need to do. We're doing something when we're doing nothing. Nothing is something. Something is nothing. That's going to be hard to wrap your heads around. But then again, if you think in absolute terms, you're going to get confused. But if you think in infinite terms, you'll catch it. Look up, folks.